Following on from this first stage, you can see the first colour which goes underneath, and I cut away only the pieces that I wanted to be white or paper colour. So I've got the block ready for the second print, the second colour. So what I've done is I've cut away the section here. So I want to keep all the brightness really within these areas. So I've cut away this area here to keep this pale blue. So everything I cut away will not have the darker blue on it. So when I'm cutting, I always like to say this, when I'm cutting, I'm thinking of what I'm going to reveal. So I'm going to leave this light blue behind because a lot of it's going to be covered up when I print. Now there's still room in all this area here for the black that's going to add an extra layer of that depth and darkness and shape. But right now I'm going to print the darker blue on top of this. So ink this up. You can see how much of the mid-tone colour there is. There's quite a lot of it. It's covering quite a large area, but I want it to do that. It's quite a dominant colour. It's going to be a relatively dark print in that sense, so that the brightness, the lightness coming through the doorway really shows up. Just in case the roller has had any effect on this. Just going to mask that out. Sometimes the roller touches a bit in there. Right. Okay. Here we go. I'll actually organise a little bit of filming of me cutting at the next stage as well, so you can see some of that rather than I don't want to show cutting for the entire time because that would be going on forever. Now, let's see if that's enough pressure. Pull that up gently. It needs to go through a second time, but I'll show you it now. So I need to re-ink the block because that's the first inking. I need to re-ink the block a little bit because you can see it's a bit dry here, but I didn't want to make it too wet. But you begin to see how the light will show and cast its light through the door. A lot of black around the outside here, there'll be no black inside there, and so that'll keep the sense of the tones working and the light coming through the doorway. I'll be re-inking the block a little bit and put it back on and pass it through again and just make that colour a bit more solid. Next stage, so this is me cutting the last colour, because at the moment we've got the two colours on the print. And what I need to do now is to cut, and the way I think about it is to cut to reveal that blue. So I'm going to put the black on top, but what I'm doing is, when I'm cutting away, is thinking, what blue do I want to leave behind? So that's what I'm positively cutting. I've started cutting already. I've also redrawn, so I've taken some pens, which are the good old Sharpies, and I've drawn back onto the block to give a bit more details. In fact, some new details down here which I thought I'd fill this space with. And you can see me begin to cut what will show the black. You can see how it is in blue just now, and the black will give it more detail and more contrast against the light of the water. If I continue cutting, there are two things to do, and one with this bit of water is simply to clear things away. So this section, so going back to the print, this is where I'm going to remove. I'm going to leave that as it is, so that means I need to cut anything that's left behind here away. But this area underneath the boat, which is here, I want to leave some sort of, so I want to reveal some of this darker blue, so I need to make some watermarks similar to the same marks I've already made, and that'll give a sense of the flow of the water. All this is continuing the flow of the water here. The landscape above, what I need to do is because I've got these bits that are already cut over here, the equivalent is there, that little rooftop and this little doorway. What I need to do is to contrast against these fields, so the fields will have some sort of texture. So these are bits I've already cut. What will be left behind are kind of the black bits you can see, and then that's going to be printed on top of that print there. That's that bit. The very last bit will be the printing, and then we'll be done. Right, final stage of the printing. This is the block at the end of at the last stage of cutting. So I'm going to be putting black on this. I've actually put, because I had an area down here that had no definition, you can see in this corner, there's nothing to define what's going on, and I had some thoughts about putting in a figure and putting in a little house and things. So I just put some extra things in there, because you can be quite flexible when you're cutting the last stage, because this is often called the key block, because it has all the detail. Well, certainly in my prints it has a lot of the detail. The lower, lighter colour inks are the ones that develop the sense of light, but it's the black that will often give the structure to the whole thing at the end. I don't know how many will come out of this edition just yet, depending on quality of the inking of all of them, but we'll see. But at the moment it looks like it's being over 20 certainly. So there's not too much ink on that. Just needs a little ink. So fingers crossed how this looks. Oh, that looks pretty good. So final stage, there we go. We've got a little house here, steps going down to the river, a little figure. It's feet over the edge of the parapet there over the cliff. And the ship going around the corner into the light. So that's it. That's the print finished. Well, I haven't printed the rest of the edition. If you look behind me, you can see I've got those to print yet. The plan is that I was going to make this print during lockdown as an example of how I work. And the prints themselves are going to be sold for a charitable purpose. So I've decided that given its universality, I'm going to give the money to Samaritans. They say that every £5 towards them is potentially a life-saving telephone call for someone who really needs some help. My prints would normally go for over £100 each. I'm going to ask people only for £25 for each print, which is 5 of those potentially life-saving phone calls. But that's a minimum. If you want to pay more, in the knowledge of what these prints often go for, then please give us more. I'll put my email address at the bottom of this film. So that as the emails come in, there's only so many prints. If people want to print, then they can contact me directly by email. Then by date, as I receive those emails, will be the ones that people get the prints. And then there'll be postage and packing, a couple of pounds on top of that if it's UK. All the money from the print sale will go towards the Samaritans to help people in this rather weird time. I hope you enjoyed that process as I enjoyed making the print. I think I may well go on to make a larger version of this. As I've made the print, I've realised some of the things I'd like to do with another design of a similar idea, but make a larger print. So watch my website if you're interested, and maybe you'll see that. Thanks very much, and stay well, stay safe.